Stef and I'm a vocal coach at Philly Music Lessons. I'm here today to chat a little bit about the different parts of our voice and how to navigate through our high and low registers and use all the different sections of our voice properly and effectively. So first we're going to start talking about the chest voice. The chest voice is the area of our voice where we usually are very natural speaking. So speaking on pitch is something that is super helpful to think of because it can really bridge the gap between normal speaking voice and kind of the mystery and challenge of singing. If we can think about our normal speaking voice, the way we project our voice and talk naturally every day and relate it to song, we're going to have a really easy time getting a forward placed sound and lots of great projection. So each one of the voices that I'm going to talk about has a different resonator in our body. The chest voice has an external resonator right off of that upper chest and an internal resonator right in the mouth. So if you place one hand on your chest and you say, hey, you can really feel that vibration happening right there on that upper chest. So chest voice again is somewhere where we speak, so it's a little bit on the lower side of a vocal register. So for example, I'm going to start at a pretty comfortably low place for a female voice. And if I'm just saying, hey, 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 and we'll walk up the scale a little bit. So, hey, 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 pretty easy sounds to create and pretty effortless in the way of getting this projection out. Again, if we think about our speaking voice and relate it to pitch this way, it's going to be a lot easier, and we want to take away a lot of the breathiness that some people put onto a singing voice. We always want to think about breath as more of a style. So once we get to a point in our voice where we feel like maybe we can't hit that next note in that chest voice, because it feels like maybe we're straining or we're getting a little tense, we want to flip over to what our head voice is. Our head voice is taking a lot of the weight away from what we feel in a chest voice. Let's talk about the resonators here. So for an external resonator for our head voice, we have right on the back of our head, and the internal resonator is going to be in our nasal cavity. So pairing these two together is going to create a really nice head voice. If you place your hand on the back of your head and any kind of word on a high pitch, wee, wee, you can feel a little bit of that vibration happening right there at the top of your head. So the nasal quality is super important, and we'll dive into that when we get to mixed voice, but it gives us a lot of forward placed sound. So it's really important to think about that buzzy kind of feeling behind your nose when you're singing. So when we get to that note that we feel like maybe we just can't quite get in a chest voice, we're gonna flip into our head voice and make it just feel a lot lighter and floaty in the head. So going from the chest voice, the last note, hey, and flipping here, hey, 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 hey. It's a lot lighter, and it's pretty easy to get to these higher notes in our register. So let's now talk about mixed voice, which is literally taking the chest voice and the head voice and combining them with one extra resonator to make a more powerful, a more open, resonating kind of sound in this higher part of our voice. The extra resonator I'm talking about is the pharyngeal resonator. And this resonator is sitting back in the vocal tract from the pharynx. So it's kind of like a C shape at the back of our head. And with that, in coordination with our head voice and chest voice, the nasal is what the pharyngeal is. We want to think of nasal and pharyngeal as being the same thing. We can create this awesome sound. A lot of singers like to utilize your mixed voice for these higher notes, but we still want to have a lot of power with them. Head voice can start to sound a little bit thin, possibly a little bit weak, and when we create this mix, we can really achieve awesome big tones. Sometimes it is like tricking the listener into thinking that you're singing this high note in a big belty chest voice. So if we go back to where we left off in the head voice, a head voice, hey, or a mixed voice, hey, hey, that open sound happening, and a lot of that is coming from that nasal area. So it's super important to tap into that nasal sound as much as you can. We balance it out with a low larynx control, but the nasal is super important in singing. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna actually go ahead and dissect a song so we can really see about the different voices that we're hearing in a popular song. So we're gonna take Adele's Rolling in the Deep. It's a great example. She flips through chest voice, head voice, mixed voice throughout this whole entire song. So we'll start in the verse where we're gonna hear primarily a chest voice with some head voice flips in there. There's a fire starting in my heart, reaching a fever pitch, and it's bringing me out the dark. So you could hear where we went, reaching, there's that flip. This is great because not only does it help us to hit the higher note to get into a head voice, but it also creates a style. So we have to remember that high notes can be sung wherever we feel comfortable, but sometimes making that flip happen in a lighter head voice is really great for dynamics. Creating louds and softs in your song is going to be super helpful. If we have the same tone, the same volume, the same voice throughout an entire song, it can kind of become monotonous and almost dull or fall flat for feel. So this is a great stylistic tool to remember. Going into the second half of the verse, finally I can see you crystal clear. Go ahead, sell me out and I'll lay you there. Same thing, right? Really just using that chest voice. It's comfortable in that lower register. We're projecting this forward placed kind of sound and then using that head voice flip. So now we're going to flip to the pre-chorus, and we're going to hear a lot of the same style techniques happening here, chest voice and a head voice flip. The scars they all remind me of us. They keep me thinking that we almost had it all. Same idea, right? Flipping back and forth, pretty low, still in our range, comfortable to get into that forward placed chest voice. So moving into the chorus, here's where we get that high powerhouse note, that high C. So there's a couple different ways to think about this. We can do it in a mix. We can also do it in a chest voice. It's really whatever you feel comfortable doing. We can also combine both of those into even the same line or two. So you have like a big belty chest voice sound, but then you can also hit that same note in a mix and back to dynamics. It's gonna create a different kind of feel, a different tone, and maybe you like that for your style. So first what we'll do is we'll hear it in a mix. I can't help feeling we could have it all. There's that forward place sound. There's that nasal quality. We really need that to kind of cut through. It gives us a little bit of an edge to our sound. Rolling in the deep. There's that open kind of resonating sound that we can get in the mix, which again can't really fully be made without that pharyngeal resonator. So this is super cool to learn. So if we take it back and we want to try to get to that high C in a big belty chest voice, we can. And then maybe the second line that hits that note, we'll try a mix. So we're combining both. I can't help feeling we could have had it all, rolling in the deep. So there's that mix at the end. You heard that different kind of quality of the chest voice in the first one, really resonating here, and then that second one creating a blend with that mix again. So take a song and really see if you can start dissecting it by first finding out maybe it's a low pitch or a high pitch. Maybe that's a great way to then say, oh yeah, they're in their chest voice there. I can hear that. It's really kind of like my speaking voice, speaking on pitch. And then a higher note, is it a head voice or is it a mixed voice? So remember, mix is going to sound maybe a little bit more powerful, a little bit more resonating. So then what you can do is you can try to take these techniques to your own practice and start experimenting with these different areas of your voice and start navigating through your low and high register. Most important is that you want to try to keep consistency your number one goal. We don't want to sound like we have three separate voices. We want everything to blend super well. Another really important thing to remember is that technique and mechanics of the voice are your building blocks to being a great singer, but it also depends on feel and emotion in song. We need that part of it to be completely well-rounded and a great singer. So pairing both of those up, almost like a 50-50 split, is super important. So I hope you found this informative. Try to get these techniques going on your own, and thanks for watching.